Module 2, Meeting Interpreting and OPI. As a reminder, translating converts written communication and interpreting converts spoken communication. And everyone from presidents to press corps mix up the term. So if you do too, you're in good company. Using interpreters can help give you podcasts or other presentations in other countries or allow you to conduct meetings in other languages. Professional interpreters' qualifications are the same as those for translators. Master's level training, at least 10 years ongoing experience, being a native speaker and a subject specialist. Interpreting can be done in one of two ways, consecutive or simultaneous. Consecutive means that one person speaks at a time. You present, the interpreter interprets, another person asks a question, the interpreter interprets back to you, and so forth. Simultaneous is what one sees at the United Nations. The interpreter converts the presenter's speech into another language in real time, either working from a sound booth or for a conference floor with a transmitter and listeners' headsets. And using headsets with multiple channels, many languages can be interpreted at the same time. Interpreting can be done on site, such as at your office or in a meeting room, can be done remotely, such as through Zoom or Teams, and what most people don't realize can also be done consecutively by telephone. That's called OPI, over the phone interpreting. While most on-site and remote sessions must be scheduled in advance, OPI, over the phone interpreting, can work 24/7 to resolve quick issues, to speak to overseas suppliers, or to even to talk to non-English customers. This leads to a question that you probably were thinking but haven't asked yet. If I don't speak the language, how can I possibly present at a meeting or even think of getting my emails or social media or podcasts translated? I'm glad you asked. You can send received communications to a professional language agency, which will translate them into English and will translate your English reply into others' languages, into the sender's language. And if you do want to do a podcast or a presentation to a non-English audience, a professional language agency can arrange qualified interpreters at home or abroad to convey your message. And of course, please remember that OPI phone calls can be interpreted immediately. On-site or remote interpreters are priced by the hour and again must be scheduled in advance. Telephone interpreters are priced by the minute, and the account will also require a credit card, which will be charged at the end of a month and using a PIN. Will be charged at the end of the month and give you a call record. And again, this must be set up in advance, and the agency will give you a toll-free number and a PIN dedicated to you or your department or an individual within your organization. The language agency, again, will charge it to a credit card, and no usage equals no monthly charge. And of course, there is no monthly subscription. So if you do use the phone interpreting service, you will receive a call record with the document, the dates, the call times, the duration, the language, and more. When you need an interpreter for a meeting or a conference, the language agency needs 4 pieces of information: your date, time, and duration. For example, on November 4th at 1 p.m. for 2 hours. Your city and venue, if you know it, such as, for example, a meeting in Tulsa at our office at this address. Your needed language and dialect, such as Greek or Saudi Arabic. And your subject, such as a meeting to discuss a contract to distribute our cement mixers in Europe and the Middle East. It is critical to be aware that on-site or remote interpreters' schedules can get booked up quickly, often weeks in advance, and it's best to allow at least 2 weeks' notice and longer if possible. Please be aware that language agencies' cancellation clauses in their contracts are pretty rigid and are there for a specific reason. In general, if you cancel within 48 to 72 hours of the pre-scheduled date and time, you will need to pay 50% of the contracted fee. If you cancel within 24 hours of the pre-scheduled date and time, you will need to pay 100% of the contracted fee. The reason is to protect interpreters' incomes. When an interpreter commits through the contracting agency to your date and time, the interpreter commits to take on no other clients, no other assignments on that day and time, even if they will pay more than the interpreter's standard rate. So if you cancel, the interpreter will have no income for your assigned period. The penalty percentages help ensure that the interpreter's income is covered. Back to the issue of contracting and working with interpreters. Again, it's important for your language agency to match your desired language and dialect, such as Chilean Spanish or Brazilian Portuguese, and subject expertise with an interpreter with the same qualifications. Matching the exact dialect is desirable, but not essential. The subject, on the other hand, is most important. As I previously mentioned, every industry, every field of expertise, whether chemistry or painting or basket weaving, has its own terminology. So if you're talking about the process of fermenting grapes and the interpreter's expertise is about Egyptian mummies, you clearly have a disconnect of terminology. The language agency's job is to ask the subject of your presentation and to find a professional interpreter who speaks the needed terminology, both in your language and the host country's language, and who is available and able to do the assignment on your desired date and time duration. If the interpreter is going to your meeting or conference venue, the project manager will also strive to find a professional candidate near to the location, say within 25 miles or an hour's commute. Since that's not always possible, the project manager will then extend outward in concentric circles to find someone as close as possible, say within 50 to 100 miles. And you, the client, will be responsible for the interpreter's travel expenses. Therefore, finding a professional who is geographically convenient obviously is less costly for you.